Eyewitness News presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda and Andy Mahalchik.
Hello and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda along with Andy Mahalchik. Charlie Wysocki was an all-star football player on the high school and college levels, even had an opportunity to play for the NFL. And that's when Charlie met his most daunting opponent, a diagnosis with bipolar disorder. Now, a new book is telling of Charlie's life and struggles with bipolar disorder. And that is the topic of today's Newsmakers. When we come back, I will introduce you to our guests, and our discussion will begin when this edition of Newsmakers returns right after this. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda along with Andy Mahalchik. Saddle Up Charlie is the title of a new book that depicts the life and struggles of Charlie Wysocki with bipolar disorder. Today, we are joined by Charlie Wysocki and the author of his new book, Terry Walters. We're also joined by Owen Doherty. Owen is the president of the Scranton chapter of NAMI, and Jan Mraz, who sits on the board of directors of the Scranton chapter of NAMI, which is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And they are here with us today to discuss the new book, Saddle Up Charlie, which is about our friend, Charlie Wysocki. And Jan introduced us to Charlie a couple years ago. And at that time, Charlie, you were looking to write a book about your life and your struggles. And now you have your book. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Charlie, you know, you had a wonderful career, high school, college, and then you met your biggest opponent, which was a diagnosis with bipolar disorder. Tell us a little bit about that time when you first discovered that something may not be right.
Well, first of all, I always had a problem when I was a kid coming up. It's sleeping disorder, but I never thought of getting anything looked at or anything like that because I could perform on the field, so I never took anything of it. And when I went to Dallas, I mean, when I was with the Cowboys, it was just like, it was like another ball game. And it wasn't like, I had friends like Dave Basella, who played with me at Maryland, who played in the USFL and played in the NFL. And Terry, just met him not too long ago. He feels like there was no reason why I shouldn't be able to play somewhere. But I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You had some dark times during those struggles, during those days. Tell us a little bit what it was like.
Slit my wrist, trying to kill myself, doing things, taking pills. Let's say people who are going through it and they kill themselves, people, they say, man, like they got it accomplished. Were you really trying to kill yourself? I mean, I wouldn't say it if I wasn't trying to. Some people, it happens, and some people it doesn't happen to. But I see where I need the medication. If I wasn't on the medication, I would probably be dead by either a police officer or somebody doing something to me out there. And
now, Charlie, did you realize that you weren't yourself, or did someone say to you, "Hey, Charlie, you're not the old Charlie we know"?
No, it was like when ESPN did a story back in. If you check out on YouTube or go on Google Charlie Wysocki ESPN story. Now, Bill, he was over at the Wilkes-Barre, right across from Holborn there, that center. He said, sometimes he would look at me. I didn't know what he was saying. And I would look at him. He didn't know what I was saying. And there was like a gap in there between who was communicating with who. But what the key is, it's medication. That's the key. And I want that. The president is trying to get that, to be known. Because one of my friends sent me something out in California that it was about 3 weeks ago that President Kennedy, 50 years ago, brought it to Congress that we got to do something, to pass bills for the mental health.
Mm-hmm. Charlie, if I can just backtrack a little bit, talk about your career for those who are just joining in. Many in Luzerne County know of Charlie Wysocki as a football player. What high school did you graduate from? You went to Maryland, then you got into the NFL. Just a brief synopsis of your football career. And he was the real deal back in his day. And we wanted to do the show because it shows how even football heroes, the strength of football, was no match for bipolar. Just talk about your career a little bit, where you started and where you ended up.
Great. Before I go to Myers, I have to go to GAR. I went to GAR for 7th grade. I played for the Heights Packers, Dino Galala, and Owen Costello. Hey, we got on the field, Heights Packers, we played the game. We won the Super Bowl. And then I went to Myers. I played for Tony Schwab. He was my coach at that time as a freshman. And then we won the whole thing. And then I played for the big man. Coach Gorham. I'm not saying that disrespectful. Everybody called him Big Mick because he played the game.
Mickey Gorham.
Mickey Gorham. And I love Coach Gorham. He gave me the name TD Charlie D, which but then I got adopted, and it was Wysocki. Okay, so people just call him Charlie Wysocki. And then when I went to the University of Maryland, and then while I was breaking all the records, they called me Charlie CYY. Everywhere I go, they give me a nickname.
New nickname.
And they give me one name, they give me the name The Hawk. And one of the guys, he's out in California, he's a businessman out there, he gave me the name The Hawk. And he gave me the name The Hawk because he said, you're like a predator. He said, like, you could be flying out there in the ocean, and next thing you know, you go scoop down, and you're always going to get a prey. You know? But football, that was just an avenue for me. I mean, I wanted to be a professional football player, but you put me on the mat, that was another deal. And I beat people who were Olympic champions. One was an Olympic champion, another guy was a national champion. So I was just, and they said it was natural. It wasn't natural. I had to work hard for what I did. You know, and people say, well, you know, people say this and say that and the other. But I'm not here, you know, I don't want to, you know, take claim to fame for anything. I'm here right now to help people who have mental illnesses. Like my brother Robert, he is a schizophrenic. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in this situation that I'm in. But I talk to him all the time. He's down in Reading right now. I'm just here, like I said, to help people.
To help people.
May I add something? In Charlie's junior year, at one point, he led the nation in yards gained until an injury slowed him down that year. He really was, as Andy said, the real deal. And he was on a short list for the Heisman consideration for a while. And his senior, he can tell you better than I, his senior year, injuries again kind of slowed him down. But he was all over the media. He was in Sports Illustrated. Every couple of days, the Washington Post had a story on him. He was a national figure at that time.
I think he just picked up a new nickname, Real Deal.
Yes, the real deal.
We remember, and even back then, you talk about the media attention today, but when you consider the lack of ESPNs and Facebooks and Twitter, Charlie Wysocki built his name up for talents on wrestling, but more importantly, football, without all that media and the internet.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a story in itself.
True, yes.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. Before you say this, check out Charlie DeGraff and Reed Wysocki. Charlie DeGraff and Reed Wysocki, Hall to Fall in PA 34. Now, that is the best football and wrestlers ever to come out of Pennsylvania. And they have me ahead of the Suey brothers. There's 3 Suey brothers. One's a doctor. The one played in the NFL for 14 years. Go on that list, just what I told you, and Google it.
And we'll
Charlie
find
DeGraff and Hall to Fall in PA 34.
Well, we'll link that up to our website so people can see that. I want to ask, though, a little bit now. Charlie was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. For people that don't understand what that is, just give us a little bit of, Owen and Jan, tell us a little bit about bipolar disorder.
Yeah, bipolar disorder is a brain disease, often referred to as a chemical imbalance in the brain. It's a treatable disease, and people can live successfully with a diagnosis of bipolar. When I was diagnosed back in 1984, It was known as manic depression, and that gives you a very, graphic idea of what the illness is. You have mania and you have depression, and you kind of go through each of those as part of the illness.
And as we will read in the book, and when people read the book, is Charlie's road along with this disease, is it typical of what some people go through?
Yeah, I complimented Terry over the phone one time after I read the book, telling him that he did a great job explaining bipolar disorder and explaining what family members have to go through. And Charlie is a classic example of showing the symptoms of bipolar disorder. In the time that Charlie and I have spent together, however, I have never really seen him in a depressed state. Most of, if I had seen any symptoms at all in Charlie, it was, they were symptoms of mania, but very few and far between. But one thing I want to add about bipolar disorder, in addition to what Owen has said, recovery is possible. And recovery can occur. It depends on three things. It depends on the person taking their medication, as Charlie says, and he's a very good advocate for that. It depends on getting therapy, medications, therapy, and then the support of family and friends. So we kind of call that the triangle of recovery. And those three components together are very, very important and very, very helpful in helping the person towards recovery.
Is this something that you're born with, or can an event trigger this?
Well, if I could answer that
sure.
question, if you don't mind. Let's put it this way. A person has a genetic possibility of developing the symptoms of bipolar. So there's the genetic predisposition. Researchers have isolated certain genes that are associated with bipolar disorder, and the symptoms do not necessarily appear at birth or as an infant. They appear normally, not normally, but generally, the majority of persons who do develop the symptoms of bipolar disorder occurs between the ages of like 18 and 25. And maybe you want to talk about a trigger aspect of it?
A lot of times you'll see this happen when kids go off to college, or there's a change in their life situation, and so there may be triggers to something that is laying dormant there. So yeah, oftentimes because of that age group as well, you're going to find that individuals might be in college, or they may have moved out of the house to get a job, or different things that might trigger the illness.
Could be good changes too, right?
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah. A person could be diagnosed prior to that age group or afterwards, but generally the majority of instances where a person does develop the symptoms is generally between 18 and 25.
Yeah.
In general, are we seeing more people diagnosed with bipolar disorder?
I think so, because I think the process of determining it has improved over the years. I've often said that, unfortunately for Charlie, his symptoms appeared back in the 80s, and the ways of dealing with it, the research, the treatments were not nearly as good as what they are right now. So he went through some trying times through no fault of his own.
Yeah. And to that point, I had had 4 hospitalizations in my situation before they were able to diagnose me with bipolar. So at that time in the 80s and before that, we've made a lot of progress and strides.
Terry, what drew you to Charlie's story?
What led me to the story?
Yeah, what led you to his story?
I was getting a haircut by a woman who's been my hair cutter for many years, and she's from Wilkes-Barre. And one day she said, my husband, Kevin Parker, went to school with the guy, and she explained the situation briefly and said he's looking for someone to write his book. And the more I looked into it, the more fascinated I became. I considered myself a baseball writer. I was working on my second baseball book, and once I got to know Charlie a little bit, I put that on the back burner and went full bore on Saddle Up Charlie.
Terry, what can people expect to find in this book?
Well, there is a lot of drama in it, and Charlie is a very forthright person, and he put all of it out there for everybody to read. Charlie had his life threatened by his brother, who later was diagnosed as schizophrenic, and Charlie ended up seeking haven in the home of a friend who eventually adopted him and gave him some some good loving and discipline, and got him to work on his schoolwork. And Coach Gorham, I think, made it clear, Charlie, that you had to walk the straight and narrow to be on his team.
Yeah.
And between Coach Gorham and the Wysocki, Pat and Stan Wysocki, Charlie got straightened out and went on to be a premier athlete in high school.
And that forthright attitude has made him an excellent advocate for persons with mental illness.
Yeah, yes, you are a wonderful advocate for NAMI and for mental illness, for helping people. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will continue our discussion. The name of the book is called Saddle Up Charlie, and we have information on our website at pahomepage.com. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda along with Andy Mahalchik. We're joined today by Charlie Wysocki, Terry Walters, Owen Doherty, and Jan Mraz. We're talking about the new book. It's called Saddle Up Charlie, and it deals with the life and struggles of our friend here, Charlie Wysocki. And I have to ask, what is the title? How did you come up with that title, Saddle Up Charlie? What does that mean?
Well, Jerry Claiborne, the famous Maryland football coach, figured out quite early what he had in Charlie Wysocki, which was a workhorse. And he would put him in the game and run him through the line time after time. And it got to the point he would smack Charlie in the rump and say, "Saddle up, Charlie, get in the game." And that's
and a title was
that's
born.
where the title came from. And Charlie, one game, correct me if I'm wrong, ran the ball 50 times.
Yeah, the same game.
In the same game. And then went out partying after the game, right, Charlie?
That's probably part of his name.
No, he didn't get that from me.
No.
He got that from Tyrone. Tyrone Furman, he was one of my roommates.
It really is an interesting. And did football save your life, Charlie? Or did it save your life, or did it because of your career and you realized you had a problem? Is it safe to say it may have saved your life?
I think it did save my life because it brought some good people in my life. And when I say good people, I'm not talking about my teammates, or I'm talking about my teammates in college. But when you're in high school and if you're going away to school, not too many kids are getting major scholarships, and they say, well, you're not going to make it at a big school or whatever. But when I'm talking about in high school, or you're dealing with like at a mini football team, they see something in you. Like Dino Galella, he gave it a name. It never stuck. I didn't like it. Bo. If I would have known Bo Jackson then, like I know him now, then I could have said okay. But like Coach Gorham, he gave it the name TD Charlie D. He gave it the name TD Charlie D. But some people use that, and some people just say Charlie D. That's what they call me. But when I was adopted, it was like, just Charlie Wysocki. And then when I went to Maryland, they Charlie CYY, or Saddle Up Charlie, or the Hawk, and like names. And now I'm going to use the real deal.
I like it.
I like that too.
Now, you had a lot of support behind you. How does that help when someone's struggling with a disorder like bipolar?
Well,
family support.
I look at it this way, and Jan will contest to this. My parents wouldn't get involved. I wish they would have, the Wysockis. I wish they would have gotten involved with, NAMI. They wouldn't believe in it. Remember, Jan? Mm-hmm.
Well, education is very important. My son has bipolar disorder, and when he was diagnosed, the individual who had diagnosed him, well, actually, it was a school psychologist, didn't really diagnose him, but had a pretty good idea of what his diagnosis was. He said that my son needed to become educated about bipolar disorder, and my wife and I as parents needed to become educated. That's a very, very important aspect in helping the individual. You can't figure out how to deal with the person who has mental illness on your own. You need others to help.
Yeah, I know with my family, I had mother and father just took it like, hey, this is any other illness.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be treated for this illness, whether you have diabetes, whether you have any type of chronic illness. And so their support with that idea, and then my brothers and sisters, and now my wife, it's just very important to have that type of network.
One of the programs that NAMI has, and we offer in our affiliate, the Scranton affiliate, is a 12-week course called Family to Family Education. And it's for family members and friends of persons who have a mental health diagnosis. And what we do is, over that 12-week period, talk about mental illness, what it is, go into detail on certain aspects, and teach people how to actually talk to a person so that they don't trigger something or agitate the person. Basically, it's a program to help family members learn how to deal with their family member and help them better.
One of the dangers that I discovered was caregiver fatigue, and if you don't have the support that Jan and Owen mentioned, the families just run out of patience and time and money, and the support system crumbles. Right. And makes it much more difficult.
Sure. And one of the important things that we do at NAMI is we do offer a support group the second and fourth Monday of each month. And I think that's the best thing that we do at NAMI, because it brings people together, some with family members of someone with a mental illness, and others are individuals with a mental illness. And you get a perspective in that. And Jan always says that NAMI people may not be the nicest people, but there's none nicer than NAMI people.
That's right.
And it's an experience that if you're ever in a support group, it seems that God or whoever, a higher being, tends to bring the right people that night to support the people that are there.
And I think one of the best things that happens for people who come to the support group meeting for the first time is they find out that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And that's helpful.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Now, when I was in Scranton or Carbondale, I mean, I only missed Jan. How did I miss going to, we were going, it was, I only missed one.
You missed too many because I had to
I only missed one. I only missed one.
pick you up for everything.
I only missed one, that's what I'm saying.
On the time you were there, yeah.
I was just going to say, though, what does it mean to have someone like Charlie be a spokesman for?
It's fantastic, especially with his background and with the success that he's had in athletics. It's amazing how people take to Charlie. People just has a charisma about him. He's a charismatic individual. Charlie and I would go out and do talks, and people would be just drawn to him. And they'd have a million questions for him, and Charlie would stay as long as possible to answer it.
And you should be admired for that, because that's wonderful.
Well,
that you're helping
I'm not
people.
doing enough. I'm trying to get, I asked Jan if we can get back, doing some speaking on the road again, and money's not the factor. I'm trying to make this a difference, and I know I can make this a difference, and dealing with the president, because the president wants to get this accomplished, but it's people that are against him that they don't.
Yeah.
Because
But you get the word out, and you'll let people know, and I think you're a wonderful spokesman for that.
And this is what I said to my ICM worker. I'm high priority on his list, right? Why is that? He said, because you are, right? And I seen this guy walking down the street with a cart. It's about 10 degrees outside. I said, why don't you give him a ride? Why don't you help him out a little bit? Like that, he said, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's the system.
Right.
It is the system.
It's sad, isn't it? It's a sad statement.
It is bad, because they don't want to put me in the system and feed me and this, that, and the other.
But you're out there working, and you want to make a difference in people's lives.
Yes, ma'am.
Terry, tell me early reviews on the book.
So far, it's been very positive. Jan was kind enough to give me the perspective of his wife and himself on the collateral damage to the families and what they go through. We shipped a book to a psychiatrist in Scotland, and he said the chapter on bipolar disorder was the best lay description he's ever read. And of course, the Maryland football players love it. They love finding out what happened to Charlie. We're getting real good reviews from the football universe as well. So yeah, it's been very positive so far.
And I would think, Terry, that the football universe, as you put it, is so massive and powerful. If you could tap into that and get them to realize what happened with Charlie, I would think that's the biggest promotional and biggest positive step, one of them that you can get.
I agree. Go ahead. No.
But I was going to say, well, that's for me and my marketing man, Mr. Greenberg, what we'll be working on, because, all these ball players, getting hit in the head, the Alzheimer's and dementia and other stuff is bringing on. And it's the truth. I mean, That's another thing to say. Well, how do you think or feel about that being one of your problems? I don't want to go on that avenue about that. You know, being one of my problems. But then again, I don't want to let it go by the wayside either for these people who really do need it. That get hit in the head, shoot themselves in the heart, and and doing all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
We have about a minute left. I want to let people know where they can get the book.
Okay, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com, CTWalders.com, my website, and it's in Barnes & Noble bricks and mortar stores now.
And you're doing some book signings around the area.
Signings. We'll be in Wilkes-Barre, Camp Hill, PA, and we're going to be doing some down in Maryland to take advantage of the football universe down near University of Maryland. So. A lot of places.
And we have all this information on our website at pahomepage.com. We have just almost 30 seconds left. So what's next? Saddle Up Charlie the movie? What do you think?
Well, they're talking about doing a reality show.
Oh, no.
And then also talking about, Terry, we're talking about a movie.
That would be great. So.
See, they were talking about a movie back in 1980, Columbia Pictures, I don't know if you remember.
And Charlie, maybe next time you're sitting here and the next time we bring you on, it'll be Charlie the movie.
Starring Denzel.
Yeah, I like it.
Do we get to play us in the movie?
That's right.
Do we get to play us in the movie?
There we go.
To play you in the movie.
So Charlie, Terry, Owen, and Jan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Charlie.
For joining us. Thank you, Charlie, for sharing your story with us. For everyone behind the scenes, for Andy Mahalchik, I'm Jane Ann Bugda. Thank you so much for making Newsmakers part of your day.